Okay, folks. We'll give you a moment to breathe, and then please welcome. I'll start with the editor of the film, Halil Efrat. Halil, you're here. Hello. And then I'll bring out the moderator, Michelle Divon. Michelle, thank you. And the man who needs no introduction, Shlomi Eldar. Michelle, I hand things over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, when I accepted to moderate this evening, I didn't take into consideration how emotional I would feel after the film, which I saw before, but didn't really think about it, and I'm sure many of you are feeling the same way. You end the film not on a positive note, not very hopeful. And even though you personally might not feel hopeful, that's also an artistic decision to make. Why did you decide to leave it like that and not give even an glimpse of hope in the distance or opportunity for the audiences to think that something could change?
Yes, I've been asked many times why didn't I give any hope in this film. And I think that we couldn't find a better day to screen this film because today, as you know, the bill in the Knesset, Loyalty and Culture, was approved, the first step approved, and it's after the national law and other Arts bills that this Knesset and this right-wing government supposed to approve in this year until the election that will be this year. I know it's difficult. I was here I participated yesterday in a panel about the national law. And I combined with a friend, Peter Beinart was here, and other filmmakers, Arab Israelis, and I was the most desperate person in this past panel. And they asked me why. And I'm a journalist. I covered the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for more than 20 years. I think that I, over my career, could anticipated the next step. And the next step, the future of Israel, unfortunately, is not so clear, is not so white or blue or red. Actually, it's red, yes.
Halil, how did you feel about the ending? I mean, you work on many documentaries.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with Shlomi. First of all, I chose to move here with my family 3 years ago, seeing from the same reasons that Nadim, the son of Hassan, is speaking about. And I feel that there is no hope over there. It's very sad, but that's what I feel too.
If I add, the artistic decision was before 6 years ago. It started as my idea to make a documentary series to Israeli TV. And I started, my pages for Israeli TV, Channel 2. They accepted my idea to start a documentary series, six chapter, 6 hour about the Israeli society. And then I decided, or my plan was to start this series about my experience. During our editing, I all the time used to say to Halil, because I'm a veteran journalist in Israel for over 20 years. I've been in many places during the year. And if I would like to start this documentary series, I have one scene that I remember that I was there. In 1997, I was 1 feet far away from Rabbi Kaduri, the spiritual rabbi of the ultra-Orthodox Sephardi movement in Israel. I was a political correspondent, and I heard Netanyahu whispered to Rabbi Kaduri to his ear. By the way, he was deaf. I didn't know. I don't think he recognized who's whispering to his ear. But Netanyahu told him, the leftist forgot what is to be a Jew. He didn't say good Jew, a Jew. And during the year, if you don't accept his direction, Netanyahu's direction, the right-wing direction in Israel, you're supposed to be called a traitor. So this is, if you say the artistic decision, I think it started from that point.
Yeah, let's say we're both in the blacklist now.
Okay, so that was the
yeah,
turning
don't
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of
we have
us.
other people here. I'm hopeful because there are people like you and because there are people like you here in the audience. You mentioned the loyalty in culture bill that was advanced today, the initiator, of course, Culture Minister Miri Regev, who spoke about you directly and wanted to ban this film from being broadcast for the Israel public broadcaster, Kan. What do you think it is about this film that is so hard for some Israelis to swallow?
By the way, the Rabinovich Fund got not all the budget, but I think part of the budget of the Karen Rabinovich, the Rabinovich Fund, from Miri Regev ministry. I don't know if she knew it before. I don't know what she did after she saw or didn't see the film. But the question is not what she's thinking and what she thought, and the question, I think, what will be with the Israeli movie industry from tomorrow. And I don't know. You can see it in the theater, the Israeli theater, that they try not to angry any other the Israelis, and they prefer to show, where plays about music, something good. They import plays from outside, just not to deal with the real conflict about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, to be on the side safe, and the safe side.
Well, those English classes, they kick in.
Yes.
I've seen in articles you mentioning the turning point in your own career as a correspondent for Channel 10, in charge of Arab affairs. That very powerful and devastating moment with the Palestinian doctor, Izzadin Abu Elish, that you've mentioned, was a moment where audiences started to see you as a Palestinian sympathizer.
Yes.
And my question is, why? Well, first of all, it's a very human moment, so for me it's very strange personally. Why is sympathy, so scary in Israel? And this is also something you're showing through the film. The most frightening thing is compassion.
Yes. During the Operation Cast Lead, I received thousands of messages and emails and letters to my TV station, calls me, my coverage of Gaza Strip, to see the people in Gaza Strip as human beings. And when this tragedy happened, it was Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock afternoon, I saw my phone. My friend called my phone, and I saw on the screen his name.
On air.
Before on air, I saw my phone because we covered, it's open line all the time. We covered the Operation Cast Lead, and I saw him, and I ignored the phone. But something told me that I must answer this phone. And during the news, when my colleague of Charles Kotler broadcast the news, I answered the phone and heard the voices, terrified voices. I decided in this moment to push my speaker and spread out the voices. I was sure at this moment that this will be the last minute as a journalist in Channel 10, until I've heard my editor whispered to my ear, bring your microphone close, bring your phone close to your microphone. And I understood that I did the right thing. But even after that, thousands of people try to say that we did the wrong thing. We show Palestinian, even their civilians, because we ignored the other Israeli that were attacked by Hamas. But when we are talking about war, the both sides, there are victims from the both sides. Civilians in Israel, of course, we empathize the Israeli civilians, and in Gaza Strip. During the cast lead, the cloud of pillar and the protective edge, I think we're talking about 5,000 Palestinians were killed. And we can, of course, blame the Hamas, we can blame the Palestinian leadership in Gaza and the West Bank. But I think that during the year, we forgot what the meaning of the word peace. And the word peace in Israel today, when you just try to say the word peace, you're almost a traitor. Because you can do a peace with a Palestinian. If you're talking about peace with a Palestinian, any negotiation with Mahmoud Abbas or even with Hamas leadership in Gaza Strip, you're nuts. So this is the attitude in Israel, and I think is part of this movie, try to say, come on, we all the time, we would like to speak about the desire of the peace in Israel, but we forgot what the meaning of word peace.
Ghassan mentions after the play that he depicts the Palestinian doctor goes down after only 10 times in Israel while it enjoys international success, that the Israeli audience has lost interest in the conflict and definitely in the humanity of the other side, but he also says you can't blame them. You know, they're in a tough reality. And so in a way, it maybe shouldn't surprise you that perhaps your film would get a warmer welcome outside of Israel.
Yes, and I must say that when we edited the film, we all the time were talking about the similarity in the situation in the United States. I started this film 6 years ago, and 2 years ago we accepted very warmly the new president, and we found ourselves during the editing try to understand what's going on. I don't think that anyone here can understand what's going on, but we found the similarity in Israel and the United States. And if I would like to speak about the artistic decision, the windows. I came first with the idea, and I think that Halil developed it more and more.
Yeah, and first of all, it was your idea.
Don't be so modest.
No,
yes.
No, it was your idea. I tried to figure out how to do it, because in terms of storytelling, we had many different times to tell the story. We had the arc of Ghassan Abbas, we had the arc of Shlomi, and we have the arc of the Israel society. And we tried somehow to combine all the different times together and create one story. At the beginning, I didn't think that it's possible, but we managed to do it, and that's it.
Right, you mentioned that the first time you met, you didn't see how you were going to put all this together into a story. So
I thought there is no film.
Yes, there's no film.
Clearly, there is.
Yeah.
Because when you are making a movie, a documentary, especially documentary, you need something to any process of the actor. And I think that I understand that there is nothing happened to Ghassan Abbas critically. Nothing happened to me. I don't think that I'm an actor, and I didn't want to push myself to this film until I forced by my producer. The story of Dr. Izzadin Abulesh, it's well known, it's spread out all over the world. But I think that during the editing, we understood that the story is not only about Ghassan Abbas, Abulesh, and me myself. It's the story about Israel. Israel went through, since I started this project 6 years ago. And when I accepted the Ophir Award in Tel Aviv last month, I said that 6 years, it's a long time of making film. But it's one point in a country life. And in 6 years, we didn't think about to destroy the Supreme Court. We didn't even thought about the national law. I think that the whispering of the right wings, the extremist right wings, started to speak about annexation. But all these bills, and of course the loyalty and culture, all these just happened in 6 years, so fast. So now you're asking me why I'm not so optimistic.
Although I have so many questions, we will open it up now
Let
to the
me,
audience.
We want to take some questions from the audience, but before that, I want to add two important points here to this conversation. One is regarding the loyalty oath, which might be passing as a law, but the truth is there's been a level of self-censorship since the minister has come into power and has been pushing this idea that you have to be loyal to the country. All artists must be loyal to the country, and we could see this here at Other Israel. We go to see every Israeli film, and there is a clear decline in the number of Israeli films, including Arabs, and that Arabs are making. No question about it. It's had its impact already. The second thing I'm going to say. Just on the positive note, is one of the things this film gives is, and one of the reasons I think it's important for everyone to see, is that we saw this film with Muhammad Bakri, and he watched this film, and it's in some ways his story, and he cried, and we all cry as we watch this story. There are thousands of Israelis here in America who left Israel for the exact same reason that you left, from frustration, and not because they just love America, but really have their own frustrations and have that relationship. And there are thousands who come here to the festival, and many of them, I hope, are in this room today, who when people ask me, like, you should have a more balanced conversation here and have people from the other side too, there's something about this film that lets us feel that we are not alone. And those shots of the windows are extremely lonely, and by sharing that with other people, we are not alone, and hopefully hopefully the majority of people will feel that they're not alone when they see this film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And beforehand, you said that Ari Roth is here
Ari Roth,
with us, and he would like to say a few words.
yes, Ari Roth.
I think you've. This is the
Just
third-
introduce yourself.
Ari Roth from Mosaic Theater. We run a Voices from a Changing Middle East festival for 18 years. Ghassan Abbas came back to the United States in 2018 to perform this in Oklahoma, in Grinnell College, Eastern Mennonite University, University of Chicago. The most he is extraordinarily dark and depressed, and you let us hit the bottom with him. But he continues to perform I Shall Not Hate in Arabic without any set, without any help from any designers. He wants to do it all by himself. And he goes to Arab villages now with nothing but his voice and his passion. And so he, in spite of all of his darkness, continues to do this play that mystifies him because he loves the integrity of it. And he loves connecting with people. So more power to all of us in our contradictions. Him in his darkness, but he perseveres like any true actor. And he's continuing to do this play.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's take questions.
Hi. Thank you so much for this very beautiful film. And I would really, visually and the windows and what you did together, it was very human. But I just thought, you're an Iraqi Jew, he's a Palestinian. Why not Arabic? Why all the film is in Hebrew? The language of the land is Arabic. And it's something, and in a way when he said that he did the play in Arabic, it was like echoing what I felt in the film, really. And the second thing, many times we said no justice, no peace. Maybe sometimes I feel that maybe the reason you choose depression in a way or be pessimistic is the fear that maybe you have to go against your own country. I mean, for your Jewishness, but against your own country. Because there is resistance, and when I see through your film, I can feel the apartheid. There is resistance, Palestinian resistance, and maybe it's time for us to say we are standing with the resistance and not just say we are depressed or pessimistic. Thank you.
First of all, Rosan speaks Hebrew, excellent Hebrew. So I wouldn't have speak with him Arabic because Hebrew. It's not. He speaks with me Hebrew and I speak with him Hebrew. So I don't think that I have to speak with him Arabic. And by the way, I think that there is a scene in the film, and he told us why he speaks so beautiful Hebrew, so excellent. And about the depression. Well, as I said, I had yesterday a traumatic moment here because I spread out my depression, and I told the audience yesterday that really I feel that I lost the battle. I hope not the war, but people like me in Israel, the leftists would be called like traitors, we feel like we lost the battle. And if you can tell me what shall I do with this feeling, I don't know. I made a film, and I wanted to say something. This is the situation in Israel. That's it. I don't know how to solve it. I don't have any magic solution. This is the mirror. Take it or leave it. But this is the situation in Israel, and even if you don't like it.
All right, yes.
Thank you. I see where this film won the Ofik Award winner for Best Documentary. I think that's terrific. Who inside Israel makes that decision?
Oh, it's the Israeli Oscar.
The Academy.
It's the top academy in Israel. So this is the sign that it's not an underground film that made only by Shlomi Eldar is feeling. Many, many other Israelis feel the same feeling that we share.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh,
Hey,
behind.
can you describe more about the consequences to you for sharing that call on television?
Consequences about the scene with Abu Lesh? Yeah. Okay, the phone call with my friend. Well, after we were about to finish the editing, I drove with my son, my two sons, to Toronto because he lives in Toronto, and I showed him part of the film because he was part of the film and he didn't know exactly what we are going to do with his figure. And we found ourselves 4 hours telling each other his side, his point of view, and after 4 hours we started to cry. By the way, he told me things that I didn't know, that when he came to the hospital after he was evacuated from Gaza Strip, because my phone call, because, I don't like to say it, I saved him, because I was, anything that I did, my decision and the consequences that I just coincidentally just pressed my phone, he didn't know that he was on live. This is the first time that I've heard. And I saw his daughter that was injured. And she's about to lose her eyes. And I told her, Shada, me and Ghassan Abbas, we can't understand your father. We can't understand it because I must tell you, usually I find myself just frightened from him because it's not normal. it's something that I couldn't explain. His reaction. And she started to cry. And then Abulesh said one sentence that it was the end of this film. And he said, after the bombing my house, I went up to the room and saw the bodies of my daughters. And at that moment, I decided that I live only for the living life, only for the rest of my children. And I decided in this moment to give them a hope. That's why I reacted as I reacted before, and I still pitch everyone about the peace. And one thing more, 6 or 7 years ago, I screened my previous documentary, Precious Life, not in Toronto, in Winnipeg, in Winnipeg, in Canada. And the screening was in a synagogue, a huge synagogue. The audience was about 600 or 700 Jewish people, community that live in Winnipeg. And the scene was that Dr. Izzadin Abulesh, who lost 3 of his daughters, tried to convince the Jewish community the importance of peace. And, I can say more, but even in this film, we are 3 figures, Hassan Abbas, me, myself. We are, as you saw, we are desperate, but he's the only optimistic one among our three of us.
Thank you.
We have time for one last question.
All right, last question.
You mentioned that you feel that you've lost the battle, but not the war.
I hope.
When one reads poll after poll after poll, and we'll see tomorrow what polls are worth, you get the sense that there's 65%, 70% of the citizens of Israel are pro-peace, pro-decency. Is that not the case? And if it's not the case, how can this not be the Krav Acharon, the last battle, and the war's over already?
If we'll try to translate it to the United States situation, in the last election, the population vote was not to Donald Trump. So it's the same. That's what I said, the similarity between Israel and the United States against the media, against the Supreme Court. I see the polls in Israel. This year I think the election will take place in Israel. And if you ask me, my producer told me not to be so dark. So I just try to find my words for the end. I hope something else will be elected in this election in 2019.
We have a bonus question, actually. One more.
One more up here.
Oh, thank you. My question is, do you think you're very dark and you're depressed because you might be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from all that you have seen from the Gaza war?
I've been asked this question by Kobi Maidan in Israeli TV when he interviewed me 3 or 4 months ago. And my first reaction, I was laughing. And then I thought, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, I'm post-traumatic. But I traumatic more and more when I see the news.
Thank you very much, everyone.